Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 20 of the Titanforge podcast. My name is Dratnos. Joining me, as always, is my friend Tettles.
Yo, what's up, Dratnos? Hello, Trell.
Yo! And my other friend, Trell.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
He's done it, the mad lad. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about patch 8.3, what we've learned so far about it, which of course is all exciting new information from last week that has just come out, so that's going to be the main focus of the show. And so we'll talk about Corrupted, the new affix for Mythic Plus. We'll talk about the new essences that are coming in, of which there are 6 that we know about, all of which are pretty cool. And we'll talk about class buffs and nerfs that have been revealed so far, although, of course, those are very preliminary and tend to change between now and when the actual patch comes out, but we've got a little bit of an idea what things are going to look like. But first, the big piece of news for fans of the Titanforge podcast is that the mechanic of Titanforging is itself in jeopardy. Have you guys heard about this? The potential replacement with a new mechanic?
Yeah, I don't really know what we're gonna do. Do we need to rename our show, Dratnos?
Yeah, I don't know. We're taking advice here for new names. If anybody has an idea for a new name for our show, send it to us on Twitter. We're hurting here. We're gonna have trouble. We're gonna have to remake all these overlays and stuff.
Oh shit! Wait a second. I need to remake all of our overlays.
I hope the new system is like -5 item levels.
-5 item levels.
Void forging to remove item levels.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You just drop your item and it can just randomly be garbage instead of randomly be good.
I mean,
you get to the end of the dungeon.
That's how it always is.
You get to the end of the dungeon and you see the item and you're like, yes, it finally dropped my BIS item, and then you read it and it's like -40 item levels, like chance on hit to kill you. Yeah.
Disappointing.
That sounds like a fun system. They should definitely do that. But yeah, tweet at us at Titanforge WoW if you have an idea for our new podcast name, or you can send it to us on Discord. Discord links should be wherever you found the show to our Discord. Also, some things you can get in our Discord are special and only for patrons of the show, people who choose to support us over on patreon.com. Big thanks to those people. Yes, Tettles' Bathwater will be available. In fact, any of our patrons at BlizzCon can request an in-depth creation of Tettles' Bathwater. So, go for that. That'll be a good thing to do. The patreon.com/Titanforge is where you could go to get your name on that exclusive list. And at the top of that list are Paul, Gu, Never Nude, and Ahara of US Proudmore. Thanks so much for the incredible support continuing from those specific gamers, but really from all of our patrons as well. Big thanks to you all. Speaking of BlizzCon, where you will be able to... BlizzCon, there will certainly be Tettles Bathwater in the Los Angeles area during BlizzCon, whether or not anybody gets access to that.
Thank you for clarifying that. I was just like, huh.
Well, and because Tettles will be busy with that and some other less important things, we won't be able to make a show that week. So the week of BlizzCon, we're probably going to take off there will be no show. God, what's that day going to be? It's going to be like the 2nd of October or of November. 2nd of November, there's going to be no live show. And so that means the Monday the 4th, you're not going to see a show in the audio feeds.
And all three of us will be there, though, in some form or another.
Anybody who wants to come to BlizzCon, also known as Titanforge Con, come there, say hi to us. We're happy to have a little meetup or whatever. I'm sure actually we'll all be in the same place a couple times, so do that absolutely. Okay. Let's move on to our important topics. And I do think it's a good place to start is the kind of the Titanforging mechanic. As much of a meme as that is, if that is something that they're considering taking away from the game. And that has a lot of good implications, but one problematic implication for it is that people who play the game exclusively in Mythic Plus are going to have a much harder time being effectively geared, right? Because you're hard capped at you need to max Titanforge to get base Mythic loot, basically. Or max Warforge, I guess, to get base Mythic loot, even slightly worse than base Mythic loot, if you couldn't go higher than 15 item levels on an item roll. And there are some people like J.B in particular who really just spends all his time in keys and relies on the intermittent Titanforges to be geared at the same level as the people who do raid and to stay competitive with them. So we have a tweet from him, actually, at watch_J.B. Any Titanforging change is almost certainly going to favor Mythic rating, and probably ensure that you're never able to obtain equal or higher eye level gear from M+ for any of your gear. This is already the way caches works, and confirmed by Blizzard to be intentional. So he's talking about the fact that you can't get a max level weapon from caches, I think, because they can only ever go up to 5 below the cap, unlike the Mythic weapons, which can go all the way up to the cap.
Yeah.
I think this is a legitimate problem with taking away Titanforging that Blizzard would do well to solve, would be to come up with a system that at least allowed people like J.B. Not everybody who just does weekly 10s needs to be Mythic geared from doing it, but I think if you're spending a lot of time doing like 22s, 23s, 24s, it makes sense that you can do that and be Mythic geared. And I think that J.B. has identified, really, it's already a weak spot in how geared you are if you only do keys, but it'll be a big problem if there's no Titanforging, because that's kind of a band-aid right now.
Okay, so PvP has a similar issue too, because like most of your gearing from PvP will probably come from like end of game rewards as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that plus like Mythic plus, a lot of your gearing will come from Titanforging on just like end of dungeon loot boxes. And with the Titanforging itself gone, if you don't Mythic raid, then like the assurance of having that high item level piece is not there anymore. The alternative, though, is the downside of it is that it's repeatable content, so you have to kind of take that into account as well. So it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward, because I think we all are in agreement that doing 22s is just as legitimate in-game content, like gear-wise, like you should be getting, as pushing 2.4K rating, as is pushing like Mythic raid. And I think we're probably all in agreement that you should probably be rewarded equally for doing like the hardest of hard content.
In some shape or form, yeah, I'd like to see that. Like the fact that you can't get a weapon unless you get super lucky out of your cache, and then it's not quite Mythic item level usually, is pretty tough. It forces all the Mythic Plus players to at least raid the first few bosses of this current tier, which is what we've been doing on Area 52 in our Twitch Prime raid that Nerf and I started.
Yeah.
We'd like to see an alternative system, though, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it shouldn't be like the end of dungeon loot boxes, because it can't be repeatable.
And it shouldn't be from doing plus 10s either, right? Like,
yeah.
Plus 10s, I think, should be roughly equivalent to heroic rewards and difficulty. I'm fine with getting one Mythic item per week from doing plus 10s, like the weekly box being what it is for plus 10, or for plus 10s, I think is okay. But I think it needs to be better only if you're higher than that. Like only if you're in 15s or higher, probably. But I think Blizzard shied away this expansion from giving any kind of functional reward to doing higher than a 10. Although right now there is a functional reward for doing higher than 10 because of the Titanforge system, right? Like the fact that you get a zillion pieces of loot from a 22 means that with Titanforging, you actually do get a pretty good increase of your rate of, big items, but that'll go away with the change here.
Okay, but Dratnos, does it feel any better that you get 2 430 pieces of loot?
No, but
what if they made it so for the Azerite residuum system, the currency that you can spend to get tokens of Azerite from your Mythic Plus cache and whatever, you could add in the option to buy a weapon for like double the currency of a 445 Azerite piece, maybe.
Okay, yeah.
It probably should be a currency system, like realistically, and it would be interesting, like if at like the end of the dungeon you got 5 of X token if you did a 20, but you only got 2 if you did a 10.
I think they're really worried about doing like currency rewards at the end of Mythic Plus because they remember the days where everybody spent 14 hours in Mob Souls and they don't want to like encourage that again. So I think they don't
want you. You can't farm 25s like all day, man.
Yeah, you kind of can though. I don't know. Okay, J.B. does, right?
You're right. Okay, never mind. You're absolutely correct. But if it's vendor loot,
yeah, I think they could do like a weekly currency even, or like you get currency from your X highest keys per week, which is like maybe your 5 highest keys each week or something, or your highest key for each dungeon, something like that each week. Something that I think they want to avoid a system that keeps you doing dungeons repeatedly to get the best items. They don't want you to always want to be in keys, because then people who don't like keys will do it as well if that's a good way to get rewards.
I think that's what they should be the most scared of, is if something feels forced on the players, because that's always where the most backlash comes. I mean, that's like where the most backlash in the Essence system comes, is that people have to do stuff that they don't want to do and to get their best essence.
Yeah, and to be clear, we don't know exactly what is happening with Titanforging, right? Like, there's some ambiguous quotes from Blizzard that hint at it going away, but we all know what ambiguous quotes from Blizzard mean, which is we have no idea. So
what if they just only change the name of it and everything else remains the same?
Yeah.
We're all debated.
I mean, they did that.
We're all idiots. Yeah,
they did that when they changed it from Thunderforging to Warforging. So
Yeah.
that could just be happening again. They could just be like, yeah, the Titans are gone now. It's the Void Forging that's happening, but it's just functionally the same. Yeah, that would be a good meme actually. Honestly, if they did that, I would not be mad. I think that would be fine. But I think that in general, like moving a little bit away from the Titanforging up 25 item levels effect would be good. Like I think putting a cap on Titanforging would be fine as long as they solved the problems of Mythic Plus not being rewarding without the Titanforging as a band-aid.
Sure, and purely just to play devil's advocate, how much do you think Titanforging plays into like the fact that people continue to play whenever content is no longer fresh from just like a psychological standpoint?
Yeah, I think it's big. I think it's a big reason that people continue to raid after they have all their mythic pieces, right? But if you capped it at 15 item levels, that doesn't change mythic raid at all, right? There's no effect on mythic raid from capping Titanforging at 15 item levels because Titanforge is already capped at mythic raid at 10 by the item level ceiling.
That's a
anyways,
good point.
That's a minor topic. That's not going to be our main discussion this week, which is going to be about the rest of patch 8.3. Let's start by talking about the new essences that are coming in to the Heart of Azeroth. So we have 2 per spec, and I guess we can just go through each of these and then make our predictions about which ones are going to be good, which ones are going to be bad, and where each one's going to be good. So let's start with a tank one. This one is called Touch of the Everlasting. So this is the major power here, and this is a Wowhead article for anybody who wants to follow along. Let me hit you guys with that link, and it'll be in the description of this show, wherever you found it as well. So Touch of the Everlasting is the first of these. This is a tank essence. The major power is a cheat death, so once you get it up to rank 3, your next death is prevented, and you instead regenerate to 40% of your max health, and take 85% reduced damage for 3 seconds. And that resets the cooldown of your big defensive, so shield wall in this case for prot warriors. But this can only occur once every 10 minutes. So this is a pretty big duration cooldown. I mean, this does take your major slot, which is pretty big news. The minor on this thing is when you fall below 35% health, gain avoidance for 15 seconds, and your next active mitigation will last 50% longer. This can only occur once every minute. That also seems like a pretty potent effect, especially on specs that are starved for active mitigation. So I'm thinking of specs like Demon Hunter and Prot Paladin that often have downtime in their active mitigation and fall below 35% health pretty frequently because their health is pretty, wildly swingy.
Okay,
Yeah, that'll be interesting for sure.
So I actually really like that minor just because it interacts with the specs directly. So a lot of times we have essences that don't really interact straight up. Like it'll increase your mana regen, but then occasionally you have something like Mage that increases your Fire Blast recharge. The Fire Blast recharge refresh from Memory of Lucid Dreams is kind of cool. So I think stuff that interacts like directly, such as your active mitigation on this minor, or even the major, is also pretty cool as well.
Yes, I think that's true, and that causes some specs like Death Knight, who don't have active mitigation, to be left not being too interested in this minor, right?
Sometimes it'd be like that.
Yeah, I bet it just means your next Marrow Rend makes Bone Shield last on you for longer, which doesn't do anything.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's not true.
There's just not. Yeah, I guess they could just make your next Death Strike heal 50% more for Death Knight. That would be a reasonable way to make this good for them too.
I can see this essence being a really good pick for Mythic Plus and for progression raid fights, especially like speedrunning MDI stuff. Whenever there's a cheat death trinket on MDI realms, everyone wears it in the cups eventually. They like wear the DPS trinkets for a little bit, and then they all swap to the cheat death trinket like halfway through MDI seasons because they just are tired of dying and throwing the run. Yeah,
I think it depends on how good your other major options are. Like, I don't know, there's some tank specs that have really big benefits from a major, and some tank specs that don't. So if you don't, I could see this being really good. By the way, we're getting more essence slots as well, right? We're getting 2 new miners?
Yeah, just 2 new minors.
Mhm.
I was honestly hoping that we got another major. That would have been
Me
kind of
too.
sick.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, 2 more minors, so you're going to have a lot more choices. And well, at some point, I feel like it just kind of it feels like
Yeah,
less choices, but
it seems
like
like conflict and strife is going to be just mandatory for everybody.
yeah,
So if you are not on that conflict and strife rank 3 grind, now is the time. It's not a bad grind if you can just you get up to 1400. Okay, anybody can do that, and you just cap conquest for the next 5 weeks, and that's not that bad. You just turn on war mode and do the battle for Nazjatar at every 3 hours or whatever, and that gives you like a billion conquest, and do the invasions and find some war supply chests, and you get your rank 3 conflict and strife that way. You're going to want that for next patch if you don't have it, because you're just going to have so many minors. You're going to want to get that. You might want to get Vision of Perfection, that's getting buffed. And then like whatever the Mechagon rep one is for your spec, whatever the Nazjatar stuff is, just grind those now. You're gonna like having the options, because once you have 4 minor slots, you're really like that 4th one. You're really gonna want to have access to everything to have that, I think. Okay, let's move on to the next new essence that we have here. Unwavering Ward is the new one. So the rank 4 or rank 3 major of this releases 12 protective spheres outward over 4 seconds, granting the first ally to touch it a barrier that absorbs some damage for 10 seconds. Each time you send one out, you get an absorb shield for 2% of your max health. So you're going to end up getting a 24% max health absorb shield at the end of this. Whenever an ally gains an absorb shield, you and that ally heal for a small amount too. So this is kind of an interesting one. This one seems like it scales reasonably well into Mythic Plus, because the total amount of healing isn't divided among the total number of players in your raid, right? Like as long as all the spheres get absorbed, which maybe is harder in Mythic Plus, but you could just run into melee and hit this, and probably most of them will get absorbed. That probably absorbs quite a lot of damage across the raid. And of course, being an absorb shield means that you could do this before damage. Like you could just channel this right before Kragmaw does the tantrum.
yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, Kragmaw.
Think about it for something like whenever you have reduced maximum HP as well, like Queen Ashara or Restless Cabal. It could also be very good for that.
Think about this for like last boss of Shrine of the Storm as well. You could just channel this and then kill all 5 ads, maybe.
Oh shit, that would be kind of sick.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it scales with your max health, the absorb shield. Oh no, the first ally to touch it gains a barrier. Okay, so if you could go touch your own spheres, like if you could get a couple of your own spheres, like after you finish channeling, if you can run and grab them yourself, you could maybe build up a big enough absorb on yourself to kill all the ads. I don't know. That's
yeah, it is possible. Soon.
something to investigate for sure. And then the minor. So this is a healer essence for those that. I guess I didn't clarify that. The minor essence on this at rank 3, every 10 seconds, allies within 15 yards gain an absorb shield, and that shield keeps stacking up like Diamond Lace Refracting Prism, up to like 5 times as much as the original size. And every ally with that absorb shield gets a 3% damage reduction too. Now those 3% damage reductions on effects like this, that is actually pretty big news. Like that's going to absorb a lot of damage over the course of a run. It's not going to show up in healing meters. But Disc Priest had a thing like this back in like Legion, Lenience is Reward or something. And it like whenever anybody actually did the math on logs on how much that thing was healing, it was a lot. So I think this is going to be a pretty good minor. It also has the unique of corruption reduced by 10%, which we don't really know what that means yet, but it's possible that you will need to have at least one minor that reduces your corruption by 10. Mean? There's probably raid fight that interact with, or items maybe. Those are the two kind of things that jump out as being possibilities. So yeah, that's a new healer essence. Unwavering Ward. Pretty cool. Guardian Shell. Let's move on to the Spirit of Preservation. Spirit of Preservation. This is the other healer one. Preservation. So the rank 3 major for this is channel a beam of energy into an ally, healing them over 3 seconds. Other allies in the beam are also healed, but for like quarter as much. Each time that this heals the primary target, you gain a stack of the minor. And the minor is every 5 seconds you get a stack of the minor, which causes your next quick heal to heal for an additional amount, stacking up to 5 times. So this is something like Healing Surge, Regrowth, Flash Heal, or whatever. Each stack of Saving Vigil consumed increases the crit chance of your next quick heal within 6 seconds by 20%. So this stacks up to 5 times and causes your next fast heal to be really big. And then after you consume those stacks, then you have 6 more seconds to cast another one of those, and that'll have a big increased crit chance.
So it increases single target healing,
Yes.
essentially for some classes that don't.
This also looks like a Mythic Plus essence. It looks
seems pretty bad, but
yes,
maybe I'm not.
I don't know. I mean, it seems like the miner is probably something you can get away with 4 miner slots. It seems like specs that struggle with single target healing in Mythic Plus would benefit from having access to this effect.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like it's something that like Resto Druid and Keys or most healer specs in Raid are going to be that interested in.
I like these essences that fill in gaps like that. Like Resto Shaman has struggles healing the tank in Mythic Plus, for example, and some tanks lack a cheat death. So like the essences that add those options to the game, I think are really good ideas. Hopefully these work out to be good picks.
Yeah. I think that this is. I think you're right that this does not look like it's going to be universally applicable, but I think the miner is going to be good when it's good. All right, Strength of the Warden is our next power. This is a tank one. This one is really cool. Rank 3 is taunt all nearby enemies, forcing them to attack you for 6 seconds, and increase your dodge chance by 15% for 6 seconds. Targets affected by this take 50% additional damage from you.
Yeah, that one looks awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, that looks
forward to that
one.
Yeah. The miner on this at rank 3 is every 2 seconds, you store up some healing up to a total of your max health. And then of 10% of your max health. When you dodge or parry an attack, heal for all stored healing. The maximum health of all tank spec players in your party or raid is increased by 3% stacking. So this one's interesting because it affects your other tank in raid too. It buffs them up also. However, it's increasing their max health, which is, not a big deal for Brewmasters in particular. But, the max health does scale with the amount of healing that you store with this endurance power. But again, the endurance power, like healing yourself when you dodge or parry is not a really good time to give yourself a big heal. Like you don't really, that's not when you want to, like if it released when you failed to dodge or parry, that would be a much more effective time to heal. But this is probably going to heal you when you are taking no damage for 4 seconds anyways, because you're parrying. So I think that the miner looks like the main thing you're going to get out of this is max health, and I think this isn't going to be a miner that you'll play by itself probably.
Yeah.
Although you could stack a raid, as Fireshar in chat points out, you could stack a raid with 20 players who are tank spec and all taking this, and then you get 60% health across everybody. How can you lose?
That seems really useful. Thank you.
But yeah, the major is really the interesting one here. An AoE taunt that also increases damage that stuff takes from you by half, and makes you more dodgy. Pretty cool.
That seems really good. Like, just in general, think about mobs that take increased damage, like have increased damage taken phases. For bosses, that could actually be very important to have. Or obviously, the obvious use case is just on the trash and Mythic Plus.
Yeah, I mean, this just looks like a good damage essence, right? Like 50% additional damage from you for 6 seconds, like
taunting all the mobs away from me. Hold on, skittish.
It's got 3 things in it that make it good. 1, it solves your threat problems for that pull. 2, it increases your survivability because you get 15% dodge, and you deal a lot more damage to the pack. It's like an all-in-one essence.
Yeah.
So what if I trees over top of this?
I believe that the newest taunt wins. So if you trees first, trees wins, and if you if you trees first, Vigilant Protector wins, and if you Vigilant Protector first, trees wins. It's whatever gets cast second.
I wonder if it would actually remove the Vigilant Protector buff. It taunts off. It might do that.
I don't think it will, but maybe.
Hell yeah.
I'm going to be trolled by Tettles soon.
All right. Breath of the Dying is the next essence. The major power is called Reaping Flames. At rank 3, burn your target with a bolt of Azurite, dealing some fire damage. If the target has less than 20% health or more than 80% health, the cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds. If this kills an enemy, its cooldown is reset, and it will deal 100% increased damage on its next use. Okay, this is an interesting one. Like, I wonder if this is enough to one-shot explosives, for instance, because there will be above 80% health, right? So it'll get its cooldown reduced. I don't,
dude.
I don't know.
That would be.
Yeah, you just kill an explosive, cooldown resets, it deals 100% increased damage on its next use, and then you
every single explosive.
Do some machine gun. It's always really hard to make a specific damage amount that's this small kill an enemy. Like that's not easy to do. Yeah, I mean, you can do it in solo content pretty easily. So this might be good. Like if there's some kind of like mage tower thing with ads, this is probably going to be pretty great because you are controlling the damage that everything's taking.
Dude, underrot. So first off, the boss is at 100% health for forever. Second off, you have those orbs that spawn around you too that you can fire it off into the.
Yeah, you send it into an orb to get the 100% increased damage on it.
And you fire straight into the boss after that.
Heck yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wonder if this is also you could probably fire it at like critters in dungeons too. And
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Lady Wickress is always in that range.
Murder some beetles or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it needs to do effective damage at something above or below 80% health if you want to use it on that kind of just to get the shorter cooldown. But the big game is if you can find something to kill with it, and get the 100% increased damage and immediate cooldown reset.
Okay. Yeah. So some people are talking about orbs don't trigger on death shit anymore, right? Is that a bug or is that intended? Like I don't think any of us really know.
I think it's intended personally. They just haven't put patch notes out because everything that you used to gain from killing an orb is now gone. Like
you don't get victory rush.
Souls.
Okay.
Yeah, demon hunters don't get souls anymore. The victory rush does not get applied after you kill it as a warrior. I don't think warlocks get soul shards. Is there another class I'm thinking of?
I don't know, but
all of it stopped. Yeah.
Okay, that is lame. Yeah, but okay, then that means explosives.
It's really annoying, actually.
This is not going to work against explosive, then. Yeah. All right, minor power on this essence is called Lethal Strikes. Your spells and abilities have a chance to strike your target for some fire damage, heal you for half that damage, and if your target is below 20% health, the chance for extra damage is increased by 400%. So we're looking at like a Gut Ripper effect here. This also has the unique corruption reducing thing that I think all of these essences have in the minor. Looks like a reasonable single target essence, and being execute is just always good quality for damage. Raid,
I think essences that add executes to classes that don't have executes can be good. We've seen it with Gut Ripper in the past. You remember people were stacking Gut Ripper for Gahoon Dratness?
Yeah, Gut Ripper, I mean, it was good, and this is similar effects. Like you're probably going to want this for. If it's not BIS for you always, it likely will be worth slotting in one of your 4 slots for the last boss of the tier. So, yeah, it looks like a good one for that. Okay, next essence. Spark of Inspiration. This one is not going to be a fun one to use in Raid. You don't want to be the person who has to carry the Spark of Inspiration. Spark of Inspiration rank 3 major. Release a wave of energy from your Heart of Azeroth, increasing the damage of all party members within 15 yards that they deal with their Azerite essences by 45% and their speed by 39 for the next 20 seconds. So the major on this is you press it and then everybody near you gets to do more damage when they use their major. Definitely not something.
Except for you.
Yeah, definitely not something that looks like you know. Okay, first off, you need everybody to be synced up on their Azerite essences, basically. So if everybody's still using like condensed life force, which maybe they will still be doing major, then this works nicely with that because you. Actually, it only affects the next 20 seconds of their damage as well, so that it won't even hit the whole condensed life force. But still, it'll be good with everybody using like focused Azerite beam. Yeah, I don't know. This one, I'm kind of annoyed that they made this one. This one doesn't look like one that I'm all that excited to have to work around.
Dude, if I have to play that, I'm literally going to blow my brains out. Like I could see, for some reason, I could see it being just a boomkin essence, and I don't even know why.
Yeah, like... it does have a boomkin Shadow Priest kind of feel to it.
Do you think it's all specs or just DPS or just healer spec? What do you think?
It's so obnoxious.
It costs Echoes of Oblivion. I think this is the DPS one.
I think it's DPS.
I can't prove it.
DPS.
Yeah.
So one DPS is gonna have to take the bullet.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. So it's going to be like.
Well, is it only one DPS? Like, it's on a.
What if you just rotate it?
It's on a 1 minute cooldown. Okay, it's on a 1 minute cooldown, so you can probably cover everybody's essences whenever they come up, like whatever their cooldown is. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. The minor on this is that your spells and abilities have a chance to increase you and 2 other allies' haste and reduce the cooldown of your currently slotted major essence and theirs as well.
Oh, that's kind of sick.
So yeah, although that is going to just randomly desync everybody's majors when you have this major that wants you to be synced up.
How does that work with Visions of Perfection? I wonder. Like, does that work with your cooldown directly?
I don't believe it will. I believe it will have no good interaction with Vision.
Well, that's a shame. I can wear that then.
Yeah, I don't know.
All of a sudden, Combust does 45% more damage as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Tettles, you're saying you can't wear major anymore? All right, I hear you volunteering to take Moment of Glory.
Holy shit! Shut up.
All right, next essence, the Formless Void. So this is, I believe, a healer one, which is pretty cool. The major at rank 3, replicate the energy in your target's Heart of Azeroth, gaining access to rank 3 of their currently slotted major essence for the next 15 seconds. And then the Formless Void will go on cooldown for 30% longer than the base cooldown of the essence you replicated. Does not work on passive essences. So this will have no interaction with Vision, for instance. But you can use this to just yoink somebody. I think that the best use for this is going to be like, okay, if you just take this in Mythic Plus, right? You take this in Mythic Plus and you just yoink somebody's Iris and then blast the pack with it.
Dude, I'm literally going to lose to a healer in DPS at some point. It's literally about to happen. For some fucking reason, some healer's going to yoink an Iris and it should be like, all right, now this guy does infinite damage.
It sounds to me like giving a Disc Priest Iris as well is going to give them like lay on hands for the whole group. I can't prove it, but that sounds like what's going to happen when Disc Priests have this as well.
I think in general, though, sweet. I think in general though, them stealing Iris seems worse than them just playing Crucible of Flame major, right?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Crucible's very, very good for them, but like,
there's no way that's better. There's no way that just yoinking an Iris is better damage than Crucible of Flame across the whole dungeon.
Okay. Apparently, essences don't atonement, says somebody in chat. Atonement is disc only spells. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was essences as well.
They changed it this expansion, so it used to be like on trinkets and stuff, but then people were running that owl trinket for all of time, and they decided that was not okay.
Well, then this doesn't sound particularly good for disc. I changed my mind.
Maybe good for Last Boss of Shrine. You yoink someone's. Well, would it be better than Crucible though?
You're probably just already playing Crucible for damage, right? Like I think it's the only reason you'd play this is to yoink Beam for damage.
Iris. Yeah, for
AoE damage.
Your fucking Moonkin flaming him. Yeah.
Yeah. They call him 5.ttv Tettles.
I've been downgraded from tank damage Tettles to healer damage Tettles.
Yeah. Well, the healer's going to be ahead of the tank when they do this, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. The healer could also
already ahead of the tank, and if you have a good Holy Paladin, Ellesmere did 42,000 overall DPS in Shrine the other day with me, and he did 30k in a Tal. He actually beat me in
hold
a
on.
Tal.
How much did you say in Shrine?
42k
overall.
Fucking rethink what I'm playing. Oh my god.
Yeah, Holy Paladin's really strong.
Yeah,
what's happening?
I mean, Shrine always gets a little bit inflated by the last boss if somebody can AoE the eels.
For sure.
I'm just gonna staff the eels. Fuck with those.
Okay, yeah, but definitely a very cool major, and I like this. I like this one, even if it's not good. I like the design. I think it's really cool. The minor power is Symbiotic Presence. Each time an ally within 40 yards uses an Azurite Essence, you gain some primary stat and haste for 20 seconds. The ally who used the essence also gains haste for 20 seconds. This one's pretty cool. I think this is going to be an interesting one. Like, I don't know, if you use this in raid, this is probably going to give you pretty much full uptime on the proc. So, interesting. Looks pretty cool.
I mean, it seems decent.
Yeah, I wonder if there's going to be a raid fight where, like, what if you just have a Holy Paladin run this and they just, copy the tank's AoE taunt and bubble taunt?
Ooh, that would be interesting too.
It's kind of cool, right? Like, there's some gameplay to be done here.
And then I think this essence is a good idea. I mean,
they get the boss
like
the debuff, where it takes 50% increased damage.
Yeah, they just
for themselves, I think.
They bubble taunt and then they do 50% increased damage. So they wings bubble taunt Consecration and just like nuke all the ads. No damage is taken by the tank at that time.
I'm actually going to lose to a Holy Pally.
Yeah, in raid and Mythic Plus.
Dude, he's going to do 50% more damage during his wings. He's actually going to beat me.
But yeah,
God damn it.
So those are the new essences. Lots of these look pretty cool, pretty awesome. I'm very excited actually about these essences. With with the possible exception of Moment of Glory. I don't know about that one, but the rest of these, yeah, I like them.
Yeah, that was a real thinker man one.
All right, very cool system, yeah. Okay, let's talk about another type of new item that's coming out in the patch called Corrupted Rings. So here's another Wowhead article that if you guys would like to follow along in chat, and of course this will be in the description, show notes, and stuff as well. So here we have these Corrupted Rings. We don't know exactly how these work, but they increase your damage and healing by 2%, and then they all have a drawback on them as well. So some of these drawbacks are pretty bad. For instance, when you fall below 25% health, taunt all nearby enemies for 5 seconds.
I hope that's the one that's going to be used. That'll be so funny in Mythic Plus.
That one...
Dude, I could hear Trell now. If I was playing it, I drop below 25%, I instantly get killed. You'd be like, how did you die? Oh yeah, I don't know. I got melee, man. It's really no counterplay.
No, dude. Okay, yeah. You take the damage, right? Okay, you fall below 25% health. You taunt everything. Then you fall below 10% health. Then your Ajara Staff procs. Okay, your Ajara Staff procs, and you get full aggro on everything forever. And heal up to full, and you're just like kiting randomly, for 15 seconds, just trying to run away from all these mobs.
Wait. You fall below 25, you taunt everything on accident, and then I use my major essence to taunt everything back.
Yeah, and then his Ajara Staff procs and rips the threat all back after your AoE taunt ends. Yeah. So that one's
the gameplay now.
That one's like a pretty big drawback, but there are some non-big drawbacks, like, Last Grasp. When you kill an enemy, summon a hostile tentacle at its location, which will try to void grip you. That seems like a pretty big drawback in Mythic Plus, because you're going to kill like 150 enemies over the course of the dungeon. But in a raid fight, on like a patchwork fight, that's whatever.
Yeah, look at Revel and Violence. Like, all right, bro.
Yeah, your killing blows root you for 6 seconds. Like, no big deal. No big deal.
I'm going to shift that. Walk away.
And then, periodically marks a random enemy, making them the target of your fury. While your fury persists, your damage done against all other foes is reduced by 10%. That's a big drawback in Mythic Plus again as well, but also no effect on single target on Patchwork. So there are a lot of these that aren't a big deal on Patchwork. And then some of these are just huge drawbacks, like Mesmerizing. Your damaging spells and abilities against a repeated target reduce your movement speed by 5% for 6 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So you just have 50% reduced movement speed against single target. That is, very spooky. Anyways, these all are kind of drawbacks of various sizes that I would say are pretty significant. Many of these, I think, are worse than 2% increased damage and healing. So I think many of them would not be worth it. But yeah, like some of them, like Revel and Violence, just seem like super worth it. Seem like kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, especially if you have freedom or... You're a druid.
I mean, you just don't get a killing blow. Like, there it's not when you kill an enemy. There it's actually killing blows, so you need to do the damage. It's not just anybody. So just, just don't do a killing blow.
Yeah, I mean...
I really like that they're doing this, though, because everyone wants the Kiss Curse effects like this in the game, like we've talked about with Mythic Plus affixes quite a bit, where if you have something that brings a benefit but also a drawback, if you don't play carefully, it's really fun to play around and think about what you can do with it. These are looking good.
Yeah, the overconfident one... Death FX in chat is asking about. When you receive overhealing, you refuse the next 25% of your max health healing for 10 seconds. That's a pretty big drawback, I'd say.
But we've already seen how this plays out with overflowing. So overflowing was like percent based, like how much overhealing you got converted into a shield, whereas this is going to be like a pretty big like health absorb. But at the same time, this doesn't seem like something that would be that bad for raid, just because how often do you need like a health pool and a half of yours healed over the course of like 10 seconds or whatever, right?
you would need to be like topped and then need a bunch of healing, and you would need to have not been healed before that started, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it seems like you're right. This seems like not actually a huge deal in raid. In Mythic Plus, I could see this being a pretty big problem, just because it like you top somebody, especially like the overflowing wasn't so bad for Resto Druids because they just healed for such a small amount on people who were topped, but they often did do overheal ticks on people who were topped. And this one, instead of giving them a 3% absorb shield, is going to do a 25%, which is very big by comparison. And
Disciplined Priests would hate that ring. Well, bow down to our new Holy Paladin Overlords.
Yeah. Just glimmer somebody else, and you won't be able to glimmer 8 people anymore. So you won't overheal anybody anymore. Okay. But yes, very cool idea. I like these rings. We'll have to see exactly how it works. If there's some discussion of this being potentially the replacement for Titanforging, right? Is these sort of items that always have the extra damage and healing, and then they get a random detrimental effect. We have no idea how it works yet, but if that's how it works, I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool to have that instead of Titanforging. Like, there's still Abyss one of these, probably Revel in Violence, and you're hoping to get that, but you actually have these interesting decisions of like, okay, should I run this masochistic ring or whatever? Should I try and do it?
Can I get a socket though? The real question.
Yeah, well, socket Titanforging sucks. That's just, it's such a big thing whether or not an item has a socket, and you just keep trying to get one that does. I hate that more than Titanforging actually. All right, let's move on to class balance changes. So again, we have a Wowhead article. Big thanks to Wowhead for carrying our show, by the way. You can think of our show as Tettles and Wowhead as the rest of the group. So we have some changes here to essences, to existing essences. We have Purification Protocol getting buffed. So some more damage coming on the Purifying Blast Major.
It can also annihilate mobs in raid now too, can't it?
Yes.
I think I read that somewhere.
So, mobs in boss encounters in raid and keys are as until right now have been immune to the annihilation effect, and now they will not be unless they are hard coded to be immune. So this means on fights like Sakul, for instance, you could maybe purify some of the little things and annihilate them, which would be pretty cool.
What if you annihilate the Orgazoa ads?
Yeah, that would be it. And when you annihilate enemies in Mythic Plus, they don't trigger on death affixes. So if it means that they don't trigger on death raid effects, that could actually be pretty big. We'll have to see. So I'm sure that they will hardcode specific ads to not be annihilatable, but a lot of them I bet will be. And increasing, so the damage on this it's getting like a 20% damage buff, 15% damage buff.
Yeah, something like that.
The essence itself did pretty low damage, but if it's actually adding some annihilates in, it may end up being worthwhile as a major. I'm not sure. Yeah. Again, this is one that you're going to just really want to get rank 3 of, just because it's a damage proc minor, and you're going to need you need more minors than you do right now. So, I think that you should, like everybody, should be farming Mechagon rep basically. If you didn't need this that badly on your character, you might next patch. So, just to have it as one of your 4 minors.
Hey, okay. So, how do you get the Unbound Force?
The Unbound Force is Najatar rep. So. Okay. If
I can purchase it, I just don't have it. Okay.
Yeah, I did actually purchase it just because I wanted to be a completionist and have all of the essences and get the little achievement thing. So I'm a proud owner of that.
I don't have that one.
Yeah, so Unbound Force, the minor is getting buffed. The duration on the increased chance to crit is being increased from 4 to 6 seconds. This is a minor that was pretty overpowered on PTR originally when they first were creating essences, and then they nerfed it like 7 times.
Yeah, they gutted it.
And now they're buffing it a little bit. I think it still has a ways to go before it will be good. But again, you're going to have more minor slots, so this might creep its way in because you're gonna need to fill more minor slots than you currently do. This might be good synergy with some other minors that you could play.
Yeah.
The major is also getting buffed, just a coefficient increase on the fire damage. So, They want us to play Reckless Force and Undying Force more than we currently do. Vitality Conduit also getting buffed.
Good about Vitality Conduit, actually.
Vitality Conduit, it looks like what's being added is versatility scaling to Vitality Conduit. And also they're changing it so that the healing actually shows up on your healing meters instead of on the people who are transferring to each other's healing meters. So those, interesting for sure. Vitality Conduit, it's something that looks good on Necrotic Week, is something that people have liked it for, because apparently it transfers healing. Like when it transfers health to people, that doesn't count as a heal, so it's not reduced by Necrotic on a target, is the theory. Although I'm actually not convinced that that's how it works. I've looked at the healing meters, and I'm not actually sure. Like I think that maybe the healing is being done to the wrong targets and not to the tank that people are counting as this, so...
I'm not sure.
Maybe it's just bad, and it's
that has worked in the past.
Tell.
There are things used to go through Necrotic, like
SLT,
life
right?
transfer.
Yeah,
that still does. Leech used to go through Necrotic years ago.
Right before, back before they fixed that, leech was really really good. That was also pre-nerf leech, so you just needed like a 10% leech set or whatever, and you were fine in necrotic. World Vein Resonance, the major is getting buffed on this thing, which makes sense because nobody has ever run the major, except for I went into a pug once where there were two friends and they were both playing World Vein Major. I don't know. It was.
I'm sorry. What?
You know, they probably done islands together and gotten their world veins. I don't know. It was cool.
Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe
Yeah,
they're the big brain.
I hate people.
The major is getting increased. So when you use the major, you're now going to get 50% increased primary stat from lifeblood shards for 10 seconds. Still seems like not something worth using as a major. The minor even is in dispute. There are some guilds like Limit that like the minor. But there are a lot of guilds that refuse to use it because of its bugginess and how it doesn't always give as many stacks as it should. Really, with the minor, like you basically need like double as many people as the sims would suggest to get the full uptime on it.
No, that's not true. So if you have too many people that are using it, then it will actually drop stacks. So you only want to have like 6 to 7 people using it at once, because if you have like too many of the shards out, then it bugs out and you only get like 80 to 90% uptime instead of 100, because I don't know, the game is sick.
Interesting. Yeah, definitely it's a bugged essence still. The minor on World Vein and the major, I guess. The shards part of it. Okay, so those are the essence changes that are coming in. It seems good to buff the underperforming ones, even if they're not big enough buffs. Just, you know, bringing the bottom stuff up is always a nice thing to try and do.
I'm glad to see buffs rather than nerfing just the...
Yeah, like I'd hate to see like blood of the enemy getting cut in half after I grinded it or whatever. That would be it would be a shame if they were all down at the power level of Reckless Force instead of being up at the higher power levels. We have some class changes too. A lot of literal minor, text changes for some classes. The first class with some real changes is Balanced Druid. Balanced Druid getting rightly nerfed here, getting some justice for the Balanced Druids.
Did they nerf Starfall?
They did not nerf Starfall, unfortunately. No, Starfall is still out there. It roams freely to this day. So hopefully they'll get Starfall in the next patch. Tettles, what do you think of these? So we've got a 10% nerf to Moonfire and Sunfire. Thoughts?
I mean, it doesn't really do anything. Our AoE is still... Okay, so there's also a Visions of Perfection buff.
Yes, there's some changes are not in this article, and are in other places. This is trying to accumulate all of them, but not quite everything is here. There is a Vision of Perfection buff that I believe these Balanced Druid nerfs are designed to offset, because Vision is so good for balance, and buffing that essence, might first off, it probably just makes Vision like even more of a must pick for balance, but
probably
yeah.
Yeah, I love being the worst multi-dotter and then getting my dots nerfed. That's my real shit, especially since I'm spending so many globals already dotting around. Literally worse than Ellie Shaman at dotting, by the way. Worse on Queen's Court, a 2-target fight. Love that shit. That's really cool. Hell yeah.
Tettles, it's okay, man.
Buff Starfall, man.
Starfall.
Holy shit, buff Starfall. Please. I need to tweet about it again.
We do have buffs to the Moonfire and Sunfire essences, High Noon and Power of the Moon, which may also be offsetting here, the nerfs. The big news for this is that this is also a pretty big resto damage buff. High Noon was like resto's bis damage essence, and that buff is going to affect them, but the Sunfire nerf does not affect the resto spec. So, resto damage is going to be higher in Mythic Plus, thanks to this change, if no other changes come through.
Thank goodness. Resto Druid was really struggling to perform well in Mythic Plus, so
yeah, I think it's good that they're finally recognizing that Resto Druid is a spec that needs some help in Mythic Plus. Okay, Mage, we have another buff coming to Arcane. It looks like, okay, so this right here, the value of the aura going from -9 to -1% is just that's already the change that was on live, right? The 8% buff that happened on hotfix, so they're just putting that in to the actual patch now. So I don't actually think this is an Arcane buff that is any...
It's an aura buff.
Yeah, well, this is just the aura buff that's already been hotfixed in, just putting it into the actual client.
Oh, okay, yeah, it doesn't make them viable, though, so
yeah. And then Frost is getting a buff to Ice Lance, which is good. Frost has a build that doesn't press Ice Lance, and I think Blizzard and everybody thinks that's stupid, so they're changing that, hopefully.
Love that.
Although, it's unclear whether this is going to be enough spell power to make Ice Lance attractive again. Like, I'm not convinced that 35 to 42% scaling on spell power is going to be worth for Ice Lance, so we'll see. We'll see. It remains to be seen whether or not Blizzard has successfully done what they're trying to do here. All right, Monk. We have some changes to all 3 Monk specs here. Brewmaster, actually, there are more nerfs than are showing up on this page. Brewmaster's High Tolerance is getting a nerf down to 5% increased effectiveness at stagger from 8%. Brewmaster's also getting a Gift of the Ox bug fixed, which is going to be a pretty big reduction in the healing from Gift of the Ox, as that kind of scaled out of control, as we were talking about on the Brewmaster show with Andy Brew, as the expansion went on. There's also a nerf to the agility coefficient for stagger effectiveness, which basically means that you're gonna get less stagger per point of agility. It'll probably catch up. You'll probably basically, like, with the extra agility from next tier, you'll probably have the similar stagger effectiveness as you do this tier, instead of having it go up next tier.
There's also another slight stamina nerf in there as well somewhere.
Yes, so
just a template for monks. They nerfed like the overall mitigation of monk across the board by a slight amount, and then they also bug fix or nerfed majorly the Gift of the Ox healing, and that's the major concern, is where that might end up being quite a bit less healing, like maybe even 50% less than we're having now, which could make Brewmaster kind of struggle in keys, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Brewmaster, I think that you're right to say keys, because I think that in Raid, Brewmaster is going to continue to be excellent here.
Oh, definitely.
And, Brewmaster scales really well with all their stats, which is a nice thing for it, too. But I believe that in keys, Brewmaster is going to take a pretty big hit from this. It might still be great, but it's good. It's going to, it was the best by, it was not the best by far, but it was very, very good right now. And
being able to out heal your healer with Edict is a bit absurd as it currently stands, I must admit.
Yeah, Tettles and I did a key on my Brewmaster, and before the key, Tettles was like, no, don't bring his monk. Oh, I hate you, I'm Tettles.
Didn't say that.
That's exactly what he said.
Character trap.
Yeah, and he's like, I hate you guys, blah, blah, blah. And then we did the key, and it was, it was smooth, it was clean, it was super fast. I didn't die once, I was like doing a bunch of healing and,
damage, rolling.
Not too much damage.
Rank 2 Conflict and Strife is a shame, I must admit.
Yeah, I'm working on the rank 3. It's going to take a little while. I'm capping every week. But yeah, it was a good experience. And Brewmaster, like, it should not be as easy as it is with all the good gear. The thing about Brewmaster is that you do need the thing that Brewmaster's really OP with is raid trinkets at mythic item level. So if you don't have those, it's not necessarily an OP spec right now, but it's so good with those, with Edicts and Urchin and stuff.
Oh wait, are you trying to tell me that Diamond Lace Refracting Prism is not the best trinket?
Diamond Lace is not that much farther below.
I did finally get an Edict last week, so I stopped getting that question, and yes, Edict is a little bit better at higher level. Higher eye level in general.
Yeah. So Brewmaster nerfs, I think Brewmaster had room for some nerfs, and it seems like a pretty fair set of nerfs. And I expect the spec will continue to be good. Could probably use, a damage buff in keys or something from here. Would maybe be a good thing to do.
I think it's probably still going to be the best tank in Raid by a lot.
Yes, in Raid, I expect it will be the best by... I think that it probably needs about 3 times as big nerf as this to be in line with everybody else in Raid. But in keys, I think it's going to be... I expect it'll be Warriors. Given the changes that are on the PTR right now, I put my money on Warriors being the best tank in keys next patch, once again.
Yeah, it's pretty likely, I think.
But I think Brewmaster will be in that, second tier of still being good, unlike, Season 2 when they were just so far below Warriors. All right, Mistweaver. Mistweaver is getting some offsetting changes here. This looks overall like a buff to me. There's some flat nerfs to Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick, but they are dramatically increasing the scaling with attack power on Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick. So that's, probably a buff. And then Windwalker is just getting a straight buff to these, to Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick, which is good because the Windwalker build Generally
Yeah,
didn't press Rising Sun Kick, except to enable Whirling Dragon Punch, unless you had some specific traits that made it good. So, good on them to get to actually make it so you press that button. I think this is a significant enough buff to actually make it a button you'll press as well, so that's nice. Okay, Paladin. Big changes for Raid here. Glimmer of Light is getting capped to 8 targets. The way that Glimmer of Light works right now is you can get it on pretty much everybody during your cooldowns, and then just in wings or whatever, you'll do huge amounts of healing. This is a big nerf to Paladins healing in their cooldowns. Not a dramatic amount of nerf to their healing outside of cooldowns, though. Still should be pretty similar in kind of wings downtime. I think that this is a deserved nerf. I think that Paladin might need some hits to the rest of their kit as well, but Glimmer was definitely the big offender.
I think this was a deserved nerf.
Yeah. It's worth noting there's no functional change here to Mythic Plus, and Paladin, like the Glimmer build in Mythic Plus, is pretty good. Looks like fun, so I think that I think Paladin is going to be fine here, at least with this change. I don't see this as being I don't even see this as being enough to knock them out of the top healer tier with Disc Priest for Raid.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's gonna be a slight nerf, but I don't think it's actually gonna be that big of a deal. If they still have Aura Mastery with Devo, it's still gonna be pretty sick.
Yeah, I guess this is a nerf in keys because you can't Glimmer on more than 3 enemies if you want it on all 5 allies, or you 8 total targets. So it will be a little bit worse in keys for that effect. Okay, but probably not dramatically worse. Discipline Priest is getting a nerf of about 1%. So Atonement is getting nerfed down from 55% effectiveness to 50% effectiveness. But Mastery is getting buffed to 11%. To 11% base instead of 10% base. So the kind of the end effect of these is about a 1% nerf. There's also buffs here to Shadowward Pain aura, and then nerfs to its coefficient. So it's going to scale a little bit less effectively, but it's going to have a little bit more base damage. Again, pretty minor change there to that spell. But yeah, it's slight, very, very minor disc nerfs. Doesn't look like a big deal.
Does this bring Mischief Kitty back to the game?
I would be surprised. Shadow. Shadowward Pain. I guess if your question is about Disc Priest and keys, my suspicion is that none of these changes matter for Disc Priest and keys.
No, just Mischief, but yeah, okay.
Shadow is getting a nerf here as well. The same nerf to Shadowward Pain is coming out. Yeah, not much to speak about there. I mean, there's a bigger nerf coming though. Shadow is getting a lot of nerfs actually. We have Shadowy Apparitions dealing 25% increased damage instead of 50% increased damage with Auspicious Spirits talent. And we have Chorus of Insanity getting a nerf of about down to 2/3 of its current value. So these two effects combined are I think there might even be some more Shadow nerfs.
There's another one. Where's that link? Click that Imgur that I have there too. Do you see
Imgur?
it? I guess it's not a link.
I don't see. Oh, that. Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
Bang. Okay.
You like that? That's a funny picture, by the way.
Okay, September 26th. Cool. Okay. So the hotfix damage bonus increased by 75% when the Auspicious Spirits talent is not selected. Fixed a bug causing Spiteful Apparitions to be increased by 75% if you do not have Auspicious talent selected.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Interesting. That's pretty funny. That is pretty funny.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah, Shadow getting pretty big set of nerfs here. So I expect to see, a lot less Shadow Priests in cases except for the very best situations for Shadow Priest. So something like Zakul and Orgazoa still seem like fights where Shadow Priests are going to be excellent, even with a pretty big nerf to their kit. But everywhere else, it seems like they're not going to be good, and they're probably not worth putting a lot of gear on. If you're a Mythic Raid guild, Shadow Priests are not something you can really get away with having for those fights anymore. because you're going to have to play them on your other fights as well. So I think Shadow Priest. I think this is a big nerf to Shadow Priest. I expect that you'll see a lot less of them this tier than last tier.
Shadow's been insane for so long at this point. Like I guess they weren't that sick in Uldir, but they were insane in Antorus, and then they've been just crazy ever since too. Like outside of Uldir, they've actually just been like the best range, right?
And it's not like they were bad in Legion, right? They were the best spec in Emerald Nightmare.
They were by far the best spec in Emerald Nightmare TOV, and then they were really good in Nighthold. I wouldn't say the best. They were kind of bad in Tomb of Sargeras, but then they were the best in Antorus again. So like Shadow's been on top for a while. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe these nerfs are warranted, but at the same time, it does seem like it's a bit much. Who knows? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know. It feels like this is a reasonable-ish amount. I don't know. Shadow Priest, I think, needs to get buffed in the areas where it's not. Like, I think Shadow Priest single target could get some buffs. You know, give them some Mind Blast damage or whatever.
Yeah, the single target could be better, but then the issue is that if you ever add a second target, they just do infinitely more damage than anybody else. Like, they literally almost double their damage by adding another target.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
Yeah. But, you know, buffing Mind Blast would not really help their multi-target because they just stop pressing that button, largely. Okay, Rogue. There's a change here to a tooltip that was fun. Basically, the Fan of Knives tooltip was accidentally updated to say it awarded combo points based on your attack power. And they fixed that back here. But
tooltip updates are great.
For a while on PTR, it would say Phantom Knives was going to award 4,000 combo points. So that was, you know,
yeah.
That was a good time.
Someone asked me the other day if taunts still increase threat generated for 3 seconds, like after you press it.
I asked you that. I didn't even remember anymore.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was Tettles.
It does.
They removed the tooltip that said that a long time ago on every single taunt class. They removed the text that said that. But that mechanic does still exist for anyone still wondering. You generate more threat for 3 seconds after you press the ability, so you want to fit your highest damage GCDs in those 3 seconds if you can.
I didn't know if it was a tooltip change or if it was like a legitimate change.
Yeah, they just made it more confusing by removing an important piece of information from your taunt button.
Yeah, yes.
All right, Warlock. We've come to. Does anybody have that meme of the the sim?
Oh,
yeah,
man,
can you go find that, Tettles? Okay.
I don't know where that would even be.
Okay. If you can find... Okay, hang on. NKZ has got us in chat. Yes. Okay.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Perfect. You're our hero. We have pre-nerf and post-nerf damage of what's happening on this row. So what happened is Deathbolt got nerfed here. Now, before the nerf, Deathbolt was a 6% damage increase over no talent. Nightfall was a 1% damage increase. And Drain Soul was a 3% damage loss to select. You were better off not selecting a talent than selecting Drain Soul. Now Deathbolt is going to be a 4% damage increath. Nightfall still 1%. Drain Soul still negative 4%. So we're seeing, like, there's still no choice on this row. Deathbolt is just getting nerfed, which is fine, but it seems to me like they should buff talents that are worse than no talent. A similar argument could be made for Slice and Dice for Outlaw Rogues. That's also a talent that's worse than no talent, often, depending on your stats and stuff. So yes, definitely problem. Definitely a problematic talent tier. Okay, quick question in chat that I'll just quickly go back to. The Crimson Vial change here listed for Rogue is there's no functional change here. This is just changing some words here. Create Crimson Vial is a PvP talent. That they're changing some of the tooltip for, not anything.
Create Crimson Vials like the PvP talent that allows you to give like health stones to your party. Basically.
Yeah, but no functional change there. Just adding some words to the tooltip. Okay, Warrior. We are getting some just no change again. Just some word changes here to clarify what Whirlwind does, causing your next 2 single target melee attacks. To strike up to 4 additional targets for 50% damage. So I guess that means that Heroic Throw doesn't Whirlwind. Yeah? Cool.
Yeah, Heroic Throw.
I don't think anybody was Whirlwind Heroic Throwing, but maybe. Maybe they were confused as to why it wasn't AoEing. Could you imagine actually if you Whirlwind and then you Heroic Throw and it just like sends out like 20 axes?
Dude, you know what my favorite part... You know, my favorite part of heroic throw is that it says it generates massive threat, and it's
massive,
yes,
massively increased threat. I mean, it does so little damage that like a massive increase on it is still nothing. But yeah.
So what massively increases the threat? So most abilities do like what they say the damage is in terms of threat. However, some abilities like heroic throw have to do quote massively increased threat, which is still not a lot. Let's be real. Like it doesn't. You're not going to generate like any realistic threat on the pull with heroic throw.
Yeah,
but
the
it's
main
such
thing
a
is
meme that it says
if your prot warrior heroic throws a target, your healer isn't going to get healer aggro from it, which they would if it didn't do massively increased threat.
If my prot warrior heroic throws a target and I fell rush into said target, I'm going to get meleeed by it.
You get meleeed, yes.
Yeah.
That happened this week.
Yeah. Okay. That is what we've got here. There's some new perseverance traits that are going to be in your necklace. So again, stamina is going to continue to go up. And then other than that, just a bunch of random, tooltip changes, professionally stuff. Nothing big. That is it. Those are the changes that we have so far. There are a couple that didn't show up on this Wowhead article, but the Wowhead article I think is by far the best place to have to find an aggregated list of changes. So would totally recommend reading this article. And if it doesn't get updated in the next couple days, there will probably be a new one. But I believe they generally just update this article. So this is something you can look at and a source you can use. We recommend. Okay. Let's move on to the corrupted affix. So again, here we have a YouTube video. I'm going to put the link in chat, and I'll put the link, of course, in the description and everything as well. But we're not going to watch it here. We'll just talk about what's being discussed in this. But if anybody wants to hear Ian talking about corrupted, the timestamp in this link is where he explains the corrupted affix. So. Tettles, would you like to give the Titanforge summary of the corrupted affix?
So basically there's these like pillars that spawn around the dungeon, and you can click them and you go into like a separate realm. Inside of that separate realm there's, I don't know if it's going to be a mini boss style mob or like a lieutenant style mob or whatever it's going to be. There's going to be a mob in there, and whenever you kill it you come out of the portal, or you can like click and you can come out of the portal, right? And you can come out like anywhere on the map where there are additional portals after you do kill your corresponding mini boss. So it allows you to do skips without the use of Shroud, which is specifically stated by Ian inside of this video. Yeah, so the obelisks are in set points throughout the dungeon and allow you to go into the other realm. In that other realm, you then kill this thing, and wherever you kill it, you get a portal to go back into the real world. So you basically can create these like, I don't know. Did you guys ever play League of Legends? There's that burrowing person that makes little tunnels. You basically can choose Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai, yes. You basically get to create your own Rek'Sai tunnels throughout the dungeon. With the starting points are set, and the end points you can kind of choose where to put them. So that's a cool element to it. We don't yet know whether the obelisks are going to change positions weekly. I expect that they will on a 3-week rotation, as usual. And we don't exactly know what it's going to be like to fight the enemies there. We do know that if you fail to engage these enemies, they will come when you fight the last boss. When you fight the last boss, anything you haven't dealt with in the corrupted realm is going to come and fight you. So it's possible that you will need more rogues than before. Like if you need to get to all the obelisks and some of them are behind the honor guard pack or whatever on the side, it's possible you'll need more rogues than before to shroud to these obelisks and use them and skip packs. If the enemies inside the obelisks give enemy forces, it's possible that you'll need to skip more enemies throughout the rest of the dungeon and you'll need more rogues. If they don't give enemy forces, it's possible that that may just really slow down dungeons and feel bad, but then you might not need that effect to the rogues, and you might also not get much benefit from skips in general. Since you're going to clear to all these things anyways. I don't know exactly what the implications are going to be, but my point is that it's not clear that this makes rogues bad. It depends on specific implementation. There are some ways they could implement a mechanic like this that would make rogues a lot less necessary, but there are also a lot of things that could be true for this affix that would actually make rogues even more important than before, or equally important.
I agree. I think just having more freedom to move around the dungeon, regardless of how many things are already there to do so is good for keys and will probably speed up your run. Just like Shadow Meld is always a time save for
well,
troops
but
right now.
it's not clear whether this is a freedom increase or decrease. Like, if you have to go to all the obelisks, then that's an increased restriction put on you, right?
It depends on. It also depends on the dungeons themselves, because think about dungeons like King's Rest or Temple of Sethralis, where
Temple, I could see there being some good obelisking to do because there's so much count that you want to skip.
Mind. KR specifically, where there's only 120% count.
Yeah,
there's only so many skips you can do.
If there's not an obelisk that lets you like skip the 5-pack on the bridge, like there's not really anything else that you care too much about skipping, right?
Well, in addition to that, like you have to. I bet you end up playing more obelisks than you do skips.
Yes,
just because of.
Especially if they are worth, especially if they're not worth count. If the enemies inside the obelisks are not worth count, and I suspect that they won't be worth count because you're going to have to deal with all of them at the end of the dungeon anyways. Mm-hmm. So I expect that you're not going to get count from enemies.
I hope they do something
there.
Like they give count if you kill them during the dungeon, and they don't give count if you kill them during the last boss.
Interesting. That would make it a pretty big penalty to not do them during the dungeon then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also wonder like how the mobs are going to be. They could be literally any kind of mob right now. They could deal magic damage auto attacks. They could have a huge frontal cone that you have to dodge if there's like 5 on the last boss.
There could be interrupts.
Really bad.
We know there's like little ads as well that come and like explode at you while you're in there fighting it too. So that looks pretty cool. We still don't know the specifics yet on this, but
were memeing a little bit last night and joking about how the mobs that are inside of the obelisk could be just Shadow of Zul respawns and
you go down there and it's just Shadow of Zul right there.
Yeah.
Oh god.
That would be cool. That would be cool. Imagine if you could use it to skip Shadow Zul though. Like there's just there's no gate in the Shadow Realm or whatever. You just zip on right by.
Wait, this is it.
That would be cool. That would be awesome if they let you do that like 1 of the 3 weeks. And it's just yeah. Oh, it would be so cool if specific dungeons had like specific things going on in their upside downs,
No.
Yeah.
I think we've seen how this works out, and it's called teaming, and it works out poorly because they don't know what mobs to put in there.
True.
That's true.
It would be cool if one of us were designing it, and they had specific things in each dungeon. Yes. Okay. So yeah, a lot is going to depend on specific implementation. A lot is going to depend on where they put the portals and how the enemy forces works out. But as of right now, this is, I think, a very exciting looking affix. It's cool. It promises to have a lot of like thought and design to it, and it seems like something where a group that sits down and thinks for 2 hours can come up with a great plan that will be different from other groups' plans as well. And it'll be interesting. It seems like it's gonna be really interesting. So I think this is
encourages creativity.
This is the most hype affix that I've seen so far. Like reaping ended up being really fun, but it wasn't a particularly hype idea or anything. This actually, I'm really hyped for as a creative idea. Like the weaknesses of reaping, that it kind of didn't actually have all that much going on creatively. Once you figured out that you just pull reaping onto everything and AOE. I think this is really strong where reaping was weak, and reaping was a great affix again. I love reaping. Bring it back. Replace teaming. I have to say that every week. Cool.
It is coming to the MDI. There's going to be reaping.
Yes. Hey, we
MDI matches.
So
we got a QA about that too.
We do indeed. Yeah, we can move on to question and affix. Question and affix. Question and answer. Now, Iworm in chat earlier posted, "Are you guys going to cover the reaping thing this episode?" So yes, we know that reaping will be in the MDI finals, only in 2 of the maps, I believe. So do we have this? Yes, we do. Here's the here's the leak. We have, which by the way, Tettles did not leak this. Right? It was not Tettles who leaked this. Somebody leaked this.
Supposed to be leaked yet.
Somebody leaked this other than Tettles, who wasn't supposed to.
I do not have access to the player handbook, so I don't.
Again, yeah, I just want to clarify. Please continue to hire Tettles, Blizzard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we have Freehold and Underrot are going to be the reaping dungeons, and everything else is going to be beguiling, which is kind of interesting because Freehold and the Underrot are the easiest dungeons, like on live keys. In MDI, kind of everything equals out because you just keep pulling until it's hard. Underrot tyrannical teaming explosive reaping is really interesting because teaming explosive limits how big you can pull, but not with reaping active. So I think, and teaming reaping is big reaping. I think double unholy onto Kragmaw and stuff is going to be really good on the Underrot. So I really expect to see that comp with these combination of affixes. Freehold as well, I think, again, it's Teeming Reaping and it's Fortified Volcanic are the other affixes going on there. So yeah, those both look like Unholy Death Knight fiestas.
That one's going to be really interesting. Underrot, they're going to pull the entire Kragmaw room with double Unholy DK, and the Rogue's going to kill the orbs, and they're going to blow up the pack. But then they don't have any CDs for the boss, so I wonder what they're going to do with like the double Reaping Wave that spawns right
Maybe
there.
they don't actually trigger a Reaping Wave there? I don't know. I guess there's no way to avoid that.
It's going to be like 40% on the pull.
Yeah.
There's going to be 2 Reaping Waves.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder what they're going to do. We'll find out at BlizzCon.
Maybe one Unholy saves their package for the Reaping Wave? I don't know.
But all the mobs in that pool need to die in like 15 seconds or
it's over? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably play Mistweaver, right, as well?
It'll be Way of the Crane Mistweaver and double Unholy DK and Rogue, yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
No, I'm not making them add Gahoonies back in for 1 key. No.
Yeah. Very cool, very cool. Okay, let's get some more questions going here. We have some from Twitter and from our Discord, as those are always places where you can submit questions as well if you're not able to make it to our live shows. At 34Frosty on Twitter asks, how much do you think the new seasonal affix will affect the rogue meta? And do you think pulling the mini bosses on top of the last boss will be a good strategy? We talked about this a little bit, about how the specific implementation really changes the answer to this question, but I do think that yes, we are going to default to pulling everything onto the last boss, and they're going to have to make that not work for us to not do it.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, if you pull one of those things individually like 5 times throughout the dungeon, as like a just general idea of what I have of it so far, that's like 4 minutes wasted in the dungeon just killing one mob by itself. Or you could pull them with the last boss and lose like 10 seconds due to some passive cleave or dodging or whatever.
Yeah, and Squishy also had an interesting comment asking if we thought that they were going to place the corrupt obelisk in common skip locations, which is basically Blizzard caving in and giving everybody the ability to skip, or uncommon locations, which is saying that rogues are still better. And it's like, I think it kind of depends on where the obelisks end up being, whether or not you pull them into the boss. And it also comes down to difficulty, whether or not it's feasible too, right? Because if it's absolutely not possible to pull them into a boss, it also kind of depends on the boss, but let's just say that all bosses are equal here. If you do have the ability to pull them into the boss, you're going to skip some of these.
You can't. Yeah, it's based on how hard the last boss is. So like some dungeons have pretty free last bosses, right? And other dungeons have very hard last bosses.
Yeah, I mean, so just think about pulling it into Yasma or something. That would be miserable. Like trying to do all the soul rins while, like, say those ads had a kick or something that you had to get, and it's just like not doable.
But doing it like last boss of Freehold, right? Fighting it with Phase 1 Harlan Suite doesn't seem like a big problem.
Vic Goth do it with
well, yeah, okay, that would
like
kind of suck.
Happens when you take mobs that are from the Void Realm, put them in the above realm for the last boss, and then you take them back into the Shrine Realm with the tank and the healer. I wonder what would happen to them.
Oh, you're thinking Volzith, not Vic Goth. Vic Goth is the Siege one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Vic Goth is Siege Morales.
Yeah.
In the storm.
I wonder if you could spotter them. I bet you'll be able to spotter them for a couple days.
Oh, true, yeah.
Oh, I bet you will. I bet you will for the first couple days.
Well, actually, if they're coded as lieutenants by default, then probably not. But yeah, I expect, to answer Squishy's question, that they will do this weekly rotation thing again. So I think we'll see 3 weeks, and I think on some weeks the obelisks will be in the common skip locations, and in some weeks they'll be out in Narnia. Just like Void Emissaries are randomly sometimes in the choke points, and sometimes they're over in Narnia, and you don't have to worry about them. So I think it'll be pretty similar to the Void spawns on a weekly basis.
Okay. As for the Rogue question, I think one Rogue is still pretty mandatory, especially since Rogue has a bunch of unique utility that you definitely want.
I think you will more be able to get away without a Rogue, probably. Like, if you're trying to do, like, a 16 key with no Rogue in your group, it's going to go from being as hard as, like... It's going to go from being, like, 40% harder than if you didn't have a Rogue to, like, 10% harder, maybe. With a lot of implementations of this. I agree that Rogue or Double Rogue will probably still be BIS for keys, because Shroud... Like, even if Shroud is just changing which pulls you do from, like, slightly better pulls, that's a big game. That's a lot of value in a high key. So I expect that Rogue will continue to be a dominant part of the high key metagame. However, I do think you'll probably see a couple of no Rogue runs. Right now, you don't see no Rogue runs really at all. And I think you can probably like. I think Rogue will probably be a little bit less mandatory than it is now, but still very, very, very good. And there are ways that they could screw up the implementation of Corrupted that would make Rogues just equally as important as they are now.
If Rogue still has Sap, Blind, and Gouge, then they will be Rogue.
Yeah, that's the thing is they're never going to be bad choice. Like you're always going to, and there are probably going to be some weeks where like 5 dungeons you don't need a Rogue and 5 dungeons you do. So like if you're going to play for 3 hours with somebody, you just want to have a Rogue in the group so you can do the dungeons where you want the Rogue. Yeah. I guess there's some questions here about single target damage that people are asking about. I expect that if Beguiling did not make us want to bring single target specs, I don't think this affix will either.
Yeah, there's always speculation like, oh, there's a new big seasonal boss type mob like the Void Emissary, so these single target classes are all of a sudden going to be good. But honestly, it's just like such a small portion of the dungeon that like you can't just say all of a sudden Destro Warlock would be good or any other massive single target burst class unless they have the utility for the rest of the dungeon. And how they've been since the expansion launched.
The thing with Assassination that people always like, I get this question when I stream Rogue a lot, is like, do you think that Assassination would be good for this tyrannical key or whatever? The thing with Assassination is that you actually don't do more single target than Outlaw unless you sacrifice a bunch of your AoE. That's kind of one of the reasons that Outlaw's always been so good, is that you really don't have to specialize. Like your Outlaw rogues just do good everything without having like Sin is like, okay, I can give up all my single targets to do good AoE, or vice versa, or I can give up both to do priority damage. But you have to specialize, which Outlaw does not have to do. All right, at Gu and Discord asks, how hard do you think Mechagon will be in Mythic Plus? Fortified Mechagon seems terrifying. This is
Gunker seems fucking bad right now, and if that actually went into Mythic Plus, that would be awful.
Well, I don't know. I feel like people play Gunker bad. I feel like if it was actually in Mythic Plus, people would learn how to do the fight better.
The trash around Gunker is what I mean.
Yeah, some of
like
that's kind of rough.
The eyeball men and the slime boys.
Well, you just kick the eyeball people, right? Like that. That's all there is to it, right?
Okay, then the slime boy grips you in.
Yeah, the slime boy grips you in and you run away. It doesn't do anything, right?
So if you're too far away, then the travel time on him gripping you
is
makes
problematic.
it impossible for you to get out. Yeah,
it is a disease dispel
really?
though. So if you have a disease dispeller in your group, you're fine, or you just stand close to it when it grips you in. Like these don't seem like abilities that are that much worse than current. There's going to be a lot of learning time for this. Like the first couple weeks, everybody's going to be like, Mechagon is the hardest thing ever. I don't understand, how this is so hard. And the answer is because nobody knows what to do, right? But once we start to know what to do, I don't think it'll be too bad. It might be one of these things like Karazhan where they end up like nerfing a couple of things that scale out of control in Mythic Plus, which they've done
90%.
Yeah, they've done that with all the all the non-Mechagon dungeons have already had that balance tuning pass where people have played a dungeon for a couple months and they were like, all right, Spit Gold does too much damage, we're going to nerf it. But they haven't yet done that for Mechagon, so that will be, I expect there will be a couple of overtuned abilities in there that scale up in a big way, but outside of that, I don't think that it's going to be, too bad. I think that we just are going to, it's going to be a little bit to learn all the mechanics instead of just brute forcing them like we do in Mythic Zero.
For sure, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun to do a new dungeon for the first time all X-Pack and learn through all the crazy things and what you can do to avoid them.
It's a shame that 8.1, 8.3 aren't bringing new dungeons like they did in Legion, right? Legion had, we had what? Cathedral, Seat, Karazhan. A bunch of new dungeons came there, and here we're just going to get Mechagon.
4 total dungeons throughout the X-Pack, and here we have 2.
Yeah.
Very, very late in the X-Pack.
All right. Let's see. Next question at Kudaku on Discord. From a tank perspective, I could argue there are still quite a few abilities that feel bad on the global cooldown. Light of the Protector, Frenzied Regen, Dancing Rune Weapon, Death Grip, Gorfiend's Grasp, etc. How do you feel about certain defensive and offensive abilities still on the GCD? I think that this is a good point, that the defensive abilities that are still on the GCD, a lot of them, like Light of the Protector and Frenzied Regen, I think are great examples of abilities that it's just not... It's not fair for those to be on GCD when, at the time when they took Ignore Pain back off the GCD, these ones should have gone off too. And yeah.
I agree. I think it felt really bad to play Prot Warrior, Protection Paladin, and Guardian Druid at the beginning of the expansion because you basically had to choose if you wanted to live or if you wanted to have Threat sometimes, or have Rage to have more survivability the next time around. So pressing Ignore Pain, Light of the Protector feels really bad on GCD. as well as putting up defensive cooldowns. I think a lot more were on GCD at the beginning. I can't remember which ones.
Yeah, there were just these buttons you were trying to press to save yourself, and you just were on GCD, so you couldn't. And that does not feel good when tanking. I think that pretty much everybody agrees that defensive abilities should mostly be off GCD. I think that the offensive ones is kind of a more interesting question, because I've kind of come around to offensive abilities being a little better on GCD. I think that they need to make it feel good to have it on GCD, like they did with Stormkeeper and Meta. But even Vendetta these days feels fine to be on GCD. Like the fact that it has this nothing personal trait, so it does a lot of damage like by itself when you press nothing, or when you press Vendetta, and the fact that it's just such a strong DPS cooldown. Like, I think that offensives, as long as it's not multiple offensives in a row that you're pressing on GCD, I think that's fine. I do have a problem with like
Warbreaker and Avatar.
Yeah, like you're just like, okay, I'm gonna spend the next 7 seconds pressing cooldowns that are all on the GCD before I get to start doing damage, and like, that feels bad. So I think that
Windwalker
has a problem.
Windwalker, I press Storm and Fire, Touch of Death, Guardian of Azeroth, and then Cyclotronic, and then I finally actually do my rotation after that, I think. So not in that exact order, but 4.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I don't think that's the order of that, man.
It's not, but
Shaman kind of
like
has this as well. It's like, Stormkeeper, Guardian of Azeroth, Fire Elemental, and now I can start doing my stuff.
Yeah.
Prop Paladin the same way with Seraphim, Wings, and a couple other things. It's just not very fun gameplay. I wish some of that were off GCD. I personally, in my opinion, is that a lot of this stuff shouldn't be on GCD like it was in Legion. I think that was way more fun and interactive.
So I don't like the Legion design where you were like, okay, this global I'm gonna press 3 cooldowns and a damage ability. I think that the way it should work is that you should have one global where you're activating your cooldowns, and then on the next global you should get to do damage. I don't think you should have to do multiple globals of activating cooldowns.
And it's interesting for Incarn, for balance, they give it to where you get 40 astral power whenever you activate your cooldown, which for an on GCD ability, it actually feels fine. Like, and then, like you said, there is ways to make these on GCD cooldowns feel okay.
Yeah, Meta, Stormkeeper again, like those both feel great to use.
Like Meta, like you don't even gain anything. You just are literally jumping up into the air. You can iframe dodge some shit occasionally with it.
But it looks cool. It feels cool, Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It feels good to use.
I think that, whereas like Adrenaline Rush, you're just like, rawr, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything.
Yeah, like applying that, I would take Touch of Death off GCD and keep Storm Earth and Fire on. Like, so you'd press Storm Earth and Fire as your major damage GCD, and then like Touch of Death off GCD and your first global Fist of Fury, stuff like that. Instead of how the current state is, it would feel better.
All right. I think that covers the questions and answers that I've found so far. Did either of you see anything else that I didn't catch?
I think we got them all.
All right.
5 or 6 questions.
Very cool. All in all, I'm very excited for this upcoming patch. I think that it looks like good changes. It looks like a good affix, and I think the affix is the most impactful thing to me. And then the essences look really cool, so I'm hyped about it. I hope that they bring account-wide essences or some account-based speed up to getting alt essences soon. But I don't want to just keep saying that every week, because I guess maybe I'll say it every week, but I don't want to spend too much time on it every week, because I assume that will get annoying to hear, but they should do that for sure. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching episode 20 of the Titanforge podcast. Again, we'll be back the following, episodes 22, 23 will be as normal, and then episode 24 is going to be delayed by a week, so because of BlizzCon. So, thanks everybody for watching. Bye.
Have a great week.
Later.